In this section, we're going to talk about moisture mapping and environmental documentation. It's very important that you basically prove that everything that you're wanting to do in your scope of work in ROM actually exists. So, this is going to be doing psychometrics, and that's going to be atmospheric readings inside and out. You're also going to be doing material surface readings, so is the sheetrock wet? If so, how high? So on and so forth. This is going to justify your plan of action. But the biggest thing too is visual evidence is key. So basically you want to make sure that you're taking photographs of all these things. And there's also some issues out there in the commercial world on what a moisture map actually is. Is it basically a floor plan with markings on it showing what is wet and what is not wet? Or is moisture mapping the actual documentation of psychometrics, such as Mika and Mitigate, things like that utilized? And I say that is both. Visual mapping is great, and that is the best thing to show and to demonstrate what you're doing, and then also demonstrate progress as you're going along, whether you're doing drying or if you're doing removal of wet products, especially when you start getting into category 2 and 3 in porous materials. Then the readings that you have to do, you've got to log in your temperatures, your relative humidities, the GPP, and all this type of things of unaffected areas, affected areas, and then also your dehumidifier or desiccant exhaust. And then at the very end of the project, you're always going to do what's called a PRV, a post-remediation verification. And this is to basically go through and make sure that you are dry or that all the wet materials have been removed and the facility has been cleaned to meet, sanitary conditions. For complex projects or things that are in public sector locations, I like to bring in a third party. And this is going to be either the hygienist that you use on a regular basis, or maybe even the client or the insurance is recommended. But basically, they're going to come in, and it's going to be a third party verification that you have done everything that you said you were going to do in your scope of work. Now, sometimes there may be a difference of opinion on what should and shouldn't be done, but if it wasn't in your scope of work, then you may need to do a change order. Okay, and a change order is when your ROM is basically going to exceed what you predicted, or that the client or the other stakeholders have come to you and asked you to address some other issues that you did not have in your original scope and price. That is very important. So you can always use HelixCode to capture all these photos, your moisture readings, and the platform will automatically tag users, dates, times, and GPS location of those photos, which is amazing when it comes to validation of your bill and your scope of work. But the biggest thing too is you can also do basically a ROM adjustment and a change order and document that in there. This helps protect you and also protects the client and keeps a clean platform for communication as you go forward.